And we are live with this week's edition of the Nerds on Earth Punch List. I am here, as always, with my good buddy, Clave. Clave, in a change of locale, how are you doing this fine Wednesday afternoon?
Great. I'm at the office, and I just mentioned that I was sitting on one of those bouncy balls.
I feel like I need
Uh,
to I need to kind of do that so it looks like
yeah,
we're
it's working on my core.
we're all about wellness at Nerds on Earth.
Are we?
It's
But
it, it's one of our core values. Uh,
or
everything
looking
nerdy
at my
plus
core right
wellness.
now. Yeah. And unfortunately, I have not looked at this morning's punch list.
Well, you know what? That's
So
perfectly
this is
fine
going
because
to be an adventure for everyone.
we're that's what we do. We talk about it. So let's go on this journey. Let's tighten our belts and trudge up the path. For those of you who don't know, Punch List, every week, Nerds on Earth, we do a recap of the last week's news, all the hard-hitting nerd news that you need to know. And then we talk about it, we chat it up here on the Punch List live. And number 7, we'll get right to it. N.K. Jemisin, a Hugo Award-winning science fiction and fantasy author behind the Broken Earth series, has been named a MacArthur Fellow, which is one of the most prestigious things on the planet,
Yeah.
in my
Big
opinion.
deal.
So
Yeah.
um, it's really good. I personally haven't read any of the Broken Earth series or anything that she's written, but she's a big name out there, and so this is a really really big sort of news drop for anybody who is into fantasy literature for sure.
Yeah. I must admit, I have not read any of the books either, and which is a shame because I understand she has won the Hugo Award like 150 years in a row. It
I
just
I think
so
that's
she
correct.
yeah, she very well respected and admired for her work. And MacArthur is fellowship MacArthur Award, uh, which is it, fellowship or award, regardless.
It's
It's a
I
big
mean, I
deal.
think it's both. I think it's a fellowship
Yeah.
and an award.
So this is a prestigious thing. So it's great to get that type of acclaim in the science fiction community.
Right? Yeah, totally. So yeah, she won it for, or she became a MacArthur Fellow. Her novels explore, and I'm quoting here, deeply human questions about racism, environmental crises, and familial relationships. So a lot of depth to the books. So I think I definitely have to add them to my reading list, which is growing faster than it's shrinking.
You
Number
have time to read. Need to be watching the punch list, so there's no time to read.
Right. This is typically reading time, but everybody's
So
tuned in. Number 6, shifting to Spider-Man 3 news. We had a little piece of that last week, but it has been confirmed that Doctor Strange and Benedict Cumberbatch is reprising his role as Doctor Strange in the Spider-Man 3 movie, presumably taking the role of Tony Stark's mentoring persona to the young lad, um, which I love. I love Doctor Strange. I love Spider-Man. I love Tom Holland. All the above.
yeah. Now, typically, you would think I would have a lot of opinions on this, but I have no idea what's going on with that movie, so I don't really have any thoughts. It's getting pretty packed, right? There's a lot of characters, and we don't know. And there's the whole Sony slash Disney thing, and how Spider-Man plays out, and so I really don't know what to think. So I'm trying not to think about it, particularly because all the Marvel movies are delayed anyway. So
Right. So
I'm saving my headspace, and I'm not thinking about any of those rumors or announcements. I am just going to try to enjoy the movie when it comes, as packed as it may be.
yes, I'm right there with you. I don't
Full of
know.
characters,
We talked about it at length last
all
week.
sorts of multiversal directions and different studios. It's going to be a movie.
Yeah, you think about what would Electro have to do with multiverses? Not really sure, but
So
we're
let's bring in Doctor Strange to sort that out.
yeah, he can hand wave it because that's what you do with a Doctor Strange movie.
Bounty.
You're like it's magic, space magic.
Yeah.
No big surprise there. Doctor Strange coming, staying in the MCU. Number 5 on the punch list. Another no surprise here. Disney claims that they are pivoting towards prioritizing streaming. So they are basically doubling, tripling, quadrupling their bazillion dollars down on Disney Plus. And so I don't know, that could have a big impact on Disney movies that come out, whether, how they're presented to the public, whether they still do like big, large scale theatrical releases, or if they're going to really push their platform that says, hey, if you want to watch Frozen 5, you better, be subscribed to Disney Plus. So
that's big news.
That's pretty huge.
News. I mean, I think it's in a way it's obvious.
Oh yeah.
If you're looking around, it's COVID. There was already an accelerant toward streaming services, and COVID acted as a super accelerator, as a super spreading event.
There you go.
To drive this business plan. And we heard from, was it Regal Cinemas, that they're like, yeah, we're just shutting our doors.
I think it was Regal. It's hard to stay up to date with the theater news.
And this like it's the 5th or 6th largest. They're like, yeah, bankruptcy. We're done. And so that's a difficult thing. Meanwhile, Mulan released on Disney Plus, $30 for sort of an unlock, a little DLC
right
type thing on streaming services. I have 2 daughters, so we got it as a family. $30 as a family felt like a bargain. We had a fine time. I mean, it doesn't replicate the feeling of the theater, because my youngest was up and, I think there's something when you're home, she was just up and kind of scattered about.
Sure.
But it's not like Mulan was a tent pole, I mean, it was a fine movie, and I think it was a popular movie, but it wasn't, it wasn't a tent pole. Still, the numbers came out pretty good.
Yeah.
So it wasn't, it wasn't the $2 billion that Endgame made, but obviously, but I think it did pretty well, made its money back, generated a little bit of profit. So if studios get, if the thinking is reimagined of, hey, we're gonna make a profit, we're gonna make our money back, make a little bit of scratch as a profit, rather than trying to have this big, huge thing where it's got to make $1 billion or
right.
But it's a significant thing. I understand there's maybe 20,000 people laid off as part of this restructuring, so it's a big deal. But I don't think it's terribly surprising due to COVID. Things are changing.
Yeah, and it'll, it's hard to say, especially with something like Mulan, where it's like, in a world where hardly any movies are coming out, people will watch the movies that are available.
Right.
So, there's probably some of that rolled into the success, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's a Disney product and people love Disney. So, as long as they continue to produce that content that people really want, they can push whatever platform they want and people are going to go to it.
Yeah. And one more thing is also our culture is loving serialized content. And you even see that in movies, you'll see this 2-hour movie, and you'll go on Reddit the next day, and it's like, how dare you, this side character did not get a fully realized backstory and character arc, because it's like you can't pack that much in a movie. But there's become this expectation that everything is decompressed. Almost said deconstructed. That's true as well, but decompressed into long form storytelling, which honestly fits great for like what's coming up, the WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier and all those things that Disney can do on Disney Plus that they can't do in the theaters. And I think that will be an attraction for us nerds. It's like, oh, we could get 6 hours of watching Falcon on a screen instead of the 2 hours in the movie. So I'm not sure how much that played into it, but they have to think, well, let's maybe we'll have less movies and more shows, right? More seasons of shows.
Yeah, it's interesting. So more information supposedly coming to a virtual event for investors. So not us, Clave. I know that sometimes we think we own a piece of the pie, but December 10th, we should hopefully get a little bit more information on what all that means and what's coming to Disney Plus besides all of our favorite Marvel shows. Number 4, interesting news, and I'm not sure if this is a postponement of something that was supposed to happen this year and it's happening next year, or if it was always planned for next year. But Japan is opening Super Nintendo World in spring of next year. So this is a Universal Studios Japan umbrella Nintendo themed expansion to their park. So I would assume that's been in the works for a while. But it's going to be very heavily themed with all of your favorite Mario characters and iconography and things like that, including Mario snacks. So you can get a Princess Peach Bellini or something.
Yeah.
So it's probably something personally that I will never experience going to
Right.
Super Nintendo World in Japan, but it is interesting to have a video, something that's a video game as a major expansion to a park. I can't really think of any examples. I mean, you have Harry Potter World, but that's not, that's a franchise. So it's a sort of a different kind of franchise to have as a part of a theme park.
Well, and reflecting back what we were just talking about, this is a zig while they zag, right? Meanwhile, you have Disney that is losing billions of dollars because their theme parks are can attract
Empty.
people. And then Nintendo's like, guess what we'll do? We'll open a theme park. Uh, Boy, that'll teach them. I mean, obviously, I think this is a long-term strategy that we're social creatures. We're not going to avoid theme parks forever, but it's in short term, you're like, well, this is interesting. Long term, it's like Nintendo, man. Like,
Yeah, it's Nintendo, Universal, it's
fantastic.
Mario.
Yeah, I'm here in Minneapolis, and they have Nickelodeonville in the middle of the Mall of America, and Nickelodeon does this fine. People engage with those characters and franchises. I mean, Nintendo even more, right?
Oh
So, I
yeah,
mean, obviously, this is a fantastic franchise, and one more reflection back to our previous point, which is how this is different than that. It's like, hey, everyone else is socially distanced. We're opening the theme park. But even for Disney, it'll be interesting on that question with investors. Even if they do more Disney Plus, less movies, serialized TV, they still got to film it, right? Like,
mm-hmm.
filming's closed, things are still closed. So I think in short term, even some of these announcements we're getting, we still don't quite know, well, how's that going to work. Long term, I think they seem like really smart strategies.
Yeah, totally agree. Yeah, their announcements are akin to announcements of announcements because they don't even have the details of what they're looking at.
Yeah.
So very cool, Super Nintendo World, Mario World coming to Japan. So if you're playing Trip in the
And
future,
Zelda, Metroid,
can you
we gotta get a
imagine?
Metroid ride where you curl up in a little ball and you just kind of roll over the roller coaster track.
That'd be pretty cool.
Think about it.
And if you don't roll up tight enough, you get a face hugger right on
There
your
you
a
go.
Metroid on
Yeah.
your skull. Um, or you just wear those helmets that are shaped like Metroids. Now that's
True.
an
That's
idea.
true. And I'm on one of those exercise balls. So
Yeah,
this is all feeling very,
you're
very
on
relevant.
you're on a Samus Aran rolled up.
Right.
uh, Never. That's what we should sell. Samus themed medicine balls. Write it down, Nerds on Earth. That's our next swag we're doing.
Dude, that's a great idea. I would
That's
do
a
it.
pretty good idea.
Yeah, I like
Uh,
it.
so number 3 on the punch list. People are craving the punch list news. We can't get distracted. First look at Marvel's M.O.D.O.K TV series. So it's going to be it's a Patton Oswalt helmed series, and it's the iconic. You would recognize him if you saw him, baddie
Really?
from the Marvel universe.
That guy looks weird.
I will tell you what. The first time I had no idea who Modoc was until what was that Marvel miniatures game that came out at Gen Con last year, and they have a Modoc mini, right? And so I was like, who's that guy? So
Yeah.
he's an interesting fellow. It's a stop motion style animation. which
Okay.
takes a ton of time, and it's supposed to be kind of skewed on the comedic end, as Modoc struggles with a bankrupt organization and family life. So you can, I mean, with Patton Oswalt, I mean, you don't know what you're going to get, but you know
So,
it's going to be funny at least.
yeah.
So it's very interesting. Sort of drop this news out of nowhere. Um, where do you stand on the Modoc scale,
Where's it
Cliff?
coming? Is it Hulu?
Uh,
Where's-
I'm gonna open the link right now because I.
Well, I'm just I had forgotten this existed. I remember the announcement about it a while back, and I had sort of forgotten about it. And you and I talk a lot that we're not really animation guys, but the stop motion this seems just interesting enough to at least check it out. And of course, Patton Oswalt, he's one of us, right?
Right.
And so he's a legit hardcore. Like he knows his lore. This is um, so that gets me pretty excited about it. I like his brand of humor. Modoc is a I don't know. He goes way back for me, which is kind of a farcical character, in Marvel, like Modoc and Dupe and some of these other characters where you're like, that's weird and kind of, you
it's
know,
they were really seeing if it would stick.
Mojo, some of those just kind of farcical characters. So I don't know. I think it'd be good. I don't. Again, I'd heard about it, kind of forgotten about it. Saw this blurb again, and now I'm a little curious about where it's dropping.
It is Hulu,
Hulu.
according to
Okay.
the thing. No,
So Hulu also has a Hellstrom, right? And there's a couple
yeah.
on Hulu that are still coming out that were announced and we kind of forgotten about, and now it's like, oh, they do exist. It's
Yeah.
happening. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's a whole nother ball of wax.
It is.
Hulu
It
getting
is.
in on the Marvel games. So really, really cool. Again, great time to be a nerd to have all these different places. It's like
Yeah.
I don't subscribe to Disney Plus. I love Marvel. Well, there's your mistake. Go subscribe. But I have a Hulu subscription, so you can still get some Marvel bites there.
Did you watch Runaways on Hulu? It's pretty good.
I don't have Hulu, so I haven't watched Runaways.
Oh, what a disappointment, Abram.
I am a disappointment
Oh,
sometimes.
buddy.
I'll be a better nerd. I'll go. I'll find someone to mooch off of.
I'll steal someone's login. That'll bring me
Why'd you kick
customers.
me out? I was watching Runaways. Who changed the password? I was in the middle of episode 3. So M.O.D.O.K, check it out. You can see the panel from the New York Comic Con. It's in the punch list link. You can find it.
Yeah. There's
Num-
our duck.
There's on our .com website. Number 2 on the punch list, the Invincible series. So Robert Kirkman, his series is coming to Amazon Prime. There's a trailer that dropped that you can watch. It looks really great. It's this same artist who did the original comics, and I don't know. It looks good. It looks very polished just from the teaser. So I'm not familiar with the comic itself, but I'm assuming the premise is that the guy is invincible.
So the comic is excellent. It's Kirkman and Ryan Otley as the artist. They had a full run. I think it was like 125 issues or something. Invincible. Think Superman analog, like how many characters are kind of Superman analog. It's Image Comics, so it's independent. It's got Kirkman's style, which is if you've read Walking Dead,
Hmm.
it's like just punishing and visceral and like which there's no subtlety to it.
Right.
So Invincible's the same way. There's no subtlety to it. And so I suspect the animated series will be like that as well. I had not heard that this was going to be a thing, so this is something new to me. But it just shows you the reach of the comic. They're turning
It's
every comic.
big, every leaf, and it's not like Invincible is like a small leaf either. It's, I mean, like you said, over
Yeah,
a
it's
hundred.
Kurt. So yeah. But I mean, it's 1/10 as popular as, or 1/10, 1/100th as popular as Walking Dead. But still, it was a good series. I read the entire thing.
Awesome. So there you go, glowing reviews, and so you definitely want to check out the show because Clave knows best. That's one thing I've learned over the years.
That's true. Gosh, that's true.
He does. Clave is modest, is another thing I've learned. Number one on the punch list, the Animaniacs Are Back. So New York Comic Con online event had a trailer for the return of the Animaniacs, set to also release on Hulu in the middle end of November, parodying a scene from Jurassic Park. And it's actually funny. So if you kind of dig into the history of this, revival of Animaniacs, they were talking about how they had all these grand ideas to flow along with 2020 with the things that were going to happen, like the Olympics and this and that and the other thing, and all these things that were canceled that never happened. So definitely threw the writers and the animators and everybody for a loop to try to scramble and figure out how they can still do this show for these iconic. What are they? Mice? Are they supposed to be like Mickey Mouse? I never know what animal the Animaniacs are. I don't know if they are supposed to be an actual specific animal either. Rudolph mixed with rabbits is what we'll go with.
You know what? I've never seen it. Never, ever. Never, ever. Because remember, I'm an 80s kid. This is 90s.
This is 90s.
So in the 90s, I was dating girls. So I skipped a lot. I skipped the cartoons. But for 90s kids, they got to be stoked, man. This is a classic of the for your generation.
It is, and I will say I really didn't watch a lot of Animaniacs, but I do vividly remember there was a Super Nintendo Animaniacs game that I played, rented from Blockbuster, and played through that thing. Definitely did. I remember I never beat it, but it's just it's like that slapstick kind of humor. But I don't know. It's even a little deeper than that. It's very original. So I am looking forward to seeing kind of what this series brings. But now this is like the third thing that we've mentioned on the show that apparently I have to go subscribe to Hulu for. So
totally, it has to happen, man.
It's gotta.
You got to get the Disney Plus bundle where you get Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN. Plus.
Yeah, I should.
If you tune into the investors call that will be virtual, they will talk more about their streaming strategy, Abram.
Oh, I didn't know that. I wish there was a place that would give me the information about like what's coming in the world of Disney Plus. So there you go. Those are the 7 punch lists. We'll run them through one more time in case you just come to the end for the recap. I was going to make a little knock at that, but I couldn't think of anything funny. So number 7, N.K. Jemisin is named a MacArthur Fellow. The fantasy author gets that prestigious award title recognition, prestige. Number 6, Doctor Strange and Benedict Cumberbatch are confirmed for Spider-Man number 3. Number 5, Disney is, of course, pivoting and doubling down on their prioritization of streaming services via Disney+. Number 4, Super Nintendo World is planned to open in Japan spring of next year. We'll see if that happens. Number 3, Marvel's M.O.D.O.K. TV series, helmed by Patton Oswalt, is headed to Hulu. You can check that out. Number 2, the Invincible series by Robert Kirkman is headed to Amazon Prime. And number 1, the Animaniacs Are Back. They're coming to your Hulu sets November. And that's the punch list.
Yeah, I'm going to grow a mustache for November.
Ooh.
Yeah. No, November. I'm finally going to work on my beard.
But you have one already.
Nah, this is
Are you going to get that good curl?
I'm going to get it.
I'll find some quality mustache wax, and then if I gift it to you, you'll feel obligated to use it.
Totally. Abram, it's awesome as usual, buddy.
Yes, Clave. Thanks for talking news and nerds. Check us out at nerdsonearth.com. And you guys all have an enjoyable rest of the week. Later nerds.